Hello, hello, hello. I am ZAKIYA Monique, Master Relationship Strategist, Transformational Speaker, Bestselling Author of Killer Connections, and I am the facilitator of the Safe Space. If you are looking for a place where you can heal, a safe space where you can heal, you definitely want to join us. Go to www.zmsafespace.com, zmsafespace.com, and you definitely want to join us. All it costs you is time. That's it. It just costs you time. That's all. So, y'all see, I got my retainer in, got my braces on, so that's why I'm talking a little funny. But anyway, so tonight, however, we are here to talk about, should stepdads step off? Should stepdads step off? And um, I happened to hear about this situation first because one of my Facebook friends, who I love to debate with, um, he said something to the effect of, "I don't feel like a man should take care of another man's children." Now, I believe everybody is entitled to their opinion. You got to deal with whatever backlash or whatever come with it. So I'm cool with that. I said how I felt. He said how he felt, and we kept it moving. But then today, what made me want to talk about the situation was because there was a young lady who got online and who said that she felt like a man who took care of another man's children was weak. So she felt like stepfathers were weak. Stepfathers are weak. And I was like, whoa, like she took it too far, in my view, right? In my view, because, there are different situations. And so I'm trying to get my notes to load. They just tripping out today. I don't know why. But I want to talk about it today because I think sometimes we start saying things, and we start, we let our own situations and emotions and experiences um, stop us from seeing things clearly. Okay. Sometimes we don't see things clearly. We only see it from our perspective because maybe our stepfather wasn't right, or maybe the things that we went through was not right. So maybe we're speaking from our experiences only. However, we have to understand that that may not be everybody else's experience. Okay. That may not be everybody else's experience. Okay. So I want to talk today about, should stepdads step off? Should they step off? All right. Now, let me tell y'all. So I told y'all why. All right. Told y'all why. Got a Facebook friend that said a man shouldn't be raising another man's kids. You weak. I've heard several people say that, to be honest with you. And then that young lady said that a man that raises another man's children is weak. So here's the thing. I got it from a spiritual perspective for those people, and I got it from a natural perspective. Okay. But let me give you the disclaimer and tell you why I'm able to talk about this situation. Not just because I'm a relationship coach, but number one, I grew up with a stepfather. Right now, my father was still there. I mean, he was young and he had to grow up and all of that, but my father was still there, but I had a stepfather too. Okay. And then when I got married, it was after the relationship with my daughter's father. So I already had a child coming into my marriage. So I was on the other end of the spectrum as well. So I was the woman who had the child and then who went into a relationship. And then I was also the child that was, in the relationship, and my mother had the relationship or what have you. So here are a couple of general points that I want to make. Number one, first and foremost, all stepfathers are not created equal, and all situations are not created equal. This is why we can't make blanket statements like that, because all situations and all stepfathers are not created equal. All blended families are not created equal. Okay, that's number one. Number two, while I do understand that due to the high rate of single mothers, because a lot of single mother households, so the mother ends up with the children. So I do understand that perspective of, there are typically more men that come into that fold. Why is it that we don't have a problem with mothers that raise other men's kids? Why don't we have a problem with women that raise another woman's kids? Why? Why? Because we do have single father homes, right? So why don't we make an uproar about women when they do it? Or is it just a man thing? Huh? See, here's my thing. My thing is, when I accept children, or when those bonus children have to come live with me, why I don't hear nobody in the uproar? Why nobody ain't saying, oh no, she shouldn't be raising them? Why? Why are we okay when a woman do it, but we're not okay with the man? I just want to know. Why? Just asking. So I want to give you a couple points and I'm going to get on out your way today. So first and foremost, point number one, we cannot subscribe to a world full of disorder as the norm and then cry about stepfathers. How? How, Sway? Blended families are the norm because of what? Because we've accepted some other things and created some other norms, right? So blended families became the norm. Now, I'm not saying that there were not situations back in the day when there were blended families, because typically when a man met a woman, usually she had one child. So like that oldest child is like usually not the man's child, child, but then all the rest of them, and nobody knew though back in the day. See, back in the day, my first auntie was not my grandfather's child, but would nobody have known it if you came around the family or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, she was raised with my grandmother, but if she had not been raised with my grandmother, they wouldn't have known any different, right? That was my grandmother who took her. But there are lots and lots and lots of families where the oldest child didn't necessarily belong to that man. However, he raised that child as if it was their own. So blended families are not new. It just was not the norm, meaning that it wasn't 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids that he was raising that weren't his, or that she was raising that weren't hers. Back then it was really low for the women. But here's the thing. We cannot subscribe to a world full of disorder and dysfunction and then cry about single stepfathers. How are you going to promote divorce or think divorce is fine? And don't get me wrong, if he beating the brakes off you, I'm just saying. But my point is, how is it that we just say, oh yeah, we can get another husband, we can get another wife, irreconcilable differences. I woke up, I don't feel the same. That's what I'm talking about. That frivolous stuff. That no, I don't want her anymore. I want her now. I don't want her no more. I want her now. We say, oh no, we can have those freedoms and liberties, but oh my gosh, a stepfather can't raise. No, he's weak. How? How do we subscribe to that whole movement that told us we didn't need a man? We didn't need a man while they went home to theirs. They went home to their men, but told us we didn't need a man, and we became independent. Do you know what that means? We became independent, right? And then did what? After 2, 3 babies, we realized we do need a man. We don't want to carry this load by ourselves. So now we got 2, 3 kids where we shouldn't have love. Come on. We got a world full of foolishness that we support. But then we want to say something about blended families. Blended families only became the norm because of all the other things that we supported along the way, right? We believe in getting in all this divorce. We believe in getting married for status and sex and stuff that don't have nothing to do with purpose and wisdom and knowledge and understanding of each other. We don't care about none of that. That's the stuff that sustains you, right? We don't care about that no more. You make me mad, I'm going to get a divorce. But then we turn around and say something about blended families. You can't have it both ways. You just can't. We got sexuality being pushed on our children at an early age. They don't know what to do with that stuff. They don't know. They got stuff set in their lap that they don't know what to do with. They're not emotionally mature. Just because you give somebody a plethora of knowledge does not mean that they know how to apply it. Hello? Just because you give somebody a plethora of knowledge, don't you understand that with these $1,000 phones that we have, $1,500 phones, we have information at our fingertips. You understand? It used to be a time, my cousin was just over here the other day, she said, we used to have to go to the library. If you had encyclopedias back in the day, you were rich. They said, oh, you had money if you had encyclopedias at your house, right? You be trying to go over that friend house to do your book report. Because you're like, I ain't got to go over to the I ain't got to go over to the library. I can go over her house. But we went from that to having information at our fingertips, but yet we'll still get on Facebook and say, do anybody know this? That's how you know that a plethora of knowledge does not mean that you apply it well. Knowledge has nothing to do with wisdom. Wisdom is the application of knowledge. We're not always wise. So there are a lot of us that are out here without the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding of what marriage is all about. None of that. We have a lot of children that have these agendas pushed on them, sexuality pushed on them, developed bodies pushed on them, hormones all in the food, got the little girls all developed at early ages. They don't know what to do with all of that. Sex is all over the place. And as a result, the kids say, well, I guess it's what we're supposed to be doing. So you 12 and 13 and 14 years old, pregnant. And you're talking about blended families. What you thought you was going to have? You thought she was going to fall madly in love with who she was with at 14? In this day and age? Oh, okay. Come on now. So, number one, we can't subscribe to a world full of disorder as the norm and then cry about stepfathers, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a whole lot of stepfathers and a whole lot of blended families. Why? Because, you know, like Betty Wright used to say, you can't show your feet to every guy you meet. But there's some girls out here showing their feet to every guy they meet. Why? Because they're broken. Because they've been molested. They've been touched. They've been hurt. They need validation. It's a vicious cycle. And by the time they get healed, they got 2-3 babies. But does that mean that they shouldn't get love? Not if a man is willing to step up and love them. You understand what I'm saying? Just because it didn't work out with that dude, she's not supposed to have love? Come on. We can't just blame it on blended families, or we can't just blame it on mothers not making a good decision, because she wasn't the only one that laid down. Okay? She's not the only one that laid down. And whether she made a good decision or not, she wasn't deciding alone. And so another man shouldn't have to step up. And another man wouldn't have to step up if he didn't step away. Because just because you don't live in the home does not mean that you cannot be in your child's life. Now, let me say this. There are some females that are bitter betties. There are some bitter betties that will say, you can't see your child since we ain't together. That's not good. Not good at all. Not good at all. And in those situations, I call a spade a spade. It's wrong. But there are a whole lot of men, I won't even call them men, a whole lot of guys that left because they didn't want the responsibility of a kid. They just wanted to have fun. That's why all this sneaky link and side chicken and all this, all that stuff. Yeah, sneaky link is all good and cool until you slide up into a pregnancy and he like, I'm out. You got to be careful. But just because she got the baby does not mean it was all her fault, because she laid down with him. So he has some responsibility too. We got to stop putting everything on the woman. It's a mutual thing. All right. So number one, blended families are the norm because we've accepted a few things that were introduced as liberties and freedoms, like the movement that told us that we didn't need a man, but they went home to their man. And divorce, having divorces and divorce parties and celebrating divorce, not realizing that divorce causes so much grief. Making divorce a norm. There are circumstances where you do need a divorce because somebody flipped out and lost their whole mind, putting their hands on you and stuff like that. However, just getting up in the morning, I don't love you anymore. You never loved the men. Come on now. Some of this foolishness has gotten frivolous. And if we're going to allow that, we cannot then turn around and say something about stepfathers. We just can't, because it's going to be the norm too. All right. Point number 2 that I want to make. We have to understand that some stepfathers came because the husband passed away. That was what I asked the guy. I said, well, what about that? Because he said women need to make a better choice. I said, well, what about the ones who made an amazing choice, but the man passed away because of a car accident or he got shot or something like that had nothing to do with him, that was out of his control? What about those situations? See, that's why we got to be careful with some of the things that we say, because sometimes a stepfather was only came because a husband passed away. And it had nothing to do with her. And what if she's still young? What if she's young? 20, 25, 30 years old. Was she supposed to live the rest of her life without love just because she got a child and just because her husband got killed? What they got to do with anything? Every situation was not due to a poor decision. That woman should be able to have love. She shouldn't be penalized because her husband died. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, that's definitely not the norm. The stepfather because of the husband passing away. But we have to leave room for circumstances beyond our control because they happen. Now, let me take you biblically for the people that say, well, what about biblically? Guess who was the stepfather? Joseph. Because the Lord was not his son. Okay, I didn't have to say that. I didn't have to sing that like that. Joseph was a stepfather, and that angel told him, stay right there. Stay right there and take care. Stay right there with your wife. And God knew that these situations would happen. That's why he said over in 1 Timothy 5:8, for those who believe, but if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his household, he have denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. See, what gets me is we always penalize the woman, but God said what to who? God said something to the one who left. See, we always penalize the one who stayed, and that really pisses me off sometimes, because why do you penalize the one who stayed when the one who left is the one we need to address as well? Sure, we can make better decisions sometimes, but sometimes, like I said, some of us are broken, some of us are wounded, some of us were molested, some of us have some issues. Yes, we do. And we didn't know until it was too late. We didn't know until we got healed. We didn't know. We didn't. And as a result, a child came into this world before we knew. And that's not God's order. That's not what God wanted for us, but that's what happened. That's what happened when we did it our way. Again, when you subscribe to disorder, you can't cry about disorder being the result. So if we out here telling 14-year-olds that they can, and 15-year-olds that they can go get birth control without their parents, and we telling them all this type of stuff because you're old enough, you're 16, you're old enough to go to the doctor without your parent, and you can have an abortion without your parent. If we subscribe to that type of stuff, we can't be talking about blended families then, because that's going to be a norm too. See, what gets me about our society is we want to be able to say what we want to do and say what we want to say. Like I was at the beauty supply. And this is a little bit off the subject, but I was at the beauty salon one day, and I told the lady, I said, what gets me is we want to say I can do anything a man can do. I can do anything that a man can do. We want to test men. We want to act like we are men. We equal to men. But let the subway or the bus be full and a woman get on there and the man don't give up his seat. We looking at him like he a coward. Why? You said you could do anything a man can do. You said you ain't need no man. You can do anything a man can do. You don't need no man. Oh, okay then. Oh, okay. So stand up. He shouldn't have to give up his seat. He wouldn't give up his seat for another man. And if since you want to act like another man, then he don't got to give up his seat for you. Come on, we got to cut it out. We can't have it both ways. And that's what I'm saying here. We can't have it both ways. We can't talk about a stepfather is weak, but then we turn around and subscribe to divorce, and we subscribe to sexuality being pushed on our kids, and we subscribe to all the things that lead to the blended family. I just don't understand that. I don't understand it. Like I said, God said, hey, if you don't take care of your children, if you don't take care of your own, you worse than the unbeliever to him. He wasn't addressing the one who stayed. He addressed the one who left. And number 3, which is my favorite. Number 3 is my favorite, okay? Because this is a situation where the stepfather is weak. But see, she didn't finish the statement. So I'm going to finish it for her, okay? A stepfather is only weak for taking care of another man's children when he does it at the expense of his own or in lieu of his own. Now, that's when he's weak. If you really want to know, that's when he's weak. When he's weak is when he takes care of somebody else's child in lieu of his own. That's when he's weak. See, because some of the stepfathers came into a situation, didn't even have kids. That's what we don't understand. Some of the men came into the situation, didn't even have children, raised her children, and then they had children together later. We ain't talking about that though. But some men came into the situation, didn't have kids, and said, I'll take you and your kids. I love you. I'm going to raise them as my own. They had more children together. One big happy family. Don't know one from the other. So why can't they? If he didn't have kids already, why can't he love another man's children? Why he can't? He had none of his own, so he wasn't making nobody pay. He wasn't doing it in lieu of. He was doing it. He was doing it. He had no kids that was being neglected. See, the problem comes when you leave yours and you try to build hers up. Partner, because what about the seeds you planted? Partner. Partner. No need to go try to water somebody else's garden because you got a whole big garden over here. And if you got 3, 4, 5 babies over here, or one over here, one over here, one over here, let's talk about that. One over here and one over here and one over here. You got kids everywhere, and then you try to go slide over here to her. Hold on. You got too many seeds everywhere to be trying to take care of anything anywhere else. So in that instance, yes, a stepfather is weak if he's trying to go over here and take care of some kids, but you ain't took care of your first work. Do your first work. Take care of your seeds first. Now, if you can spare something after you take care of your seeds, by all means, homeboy, let's get it. But something tells me that if you got 6, 7, 8, 9 chillins up in the streets, baby, you ain't got nothing else left. Not no time, not no resources. You ain't got nothing else left. If you got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 children all up through the streets in different houses. USA Today asked me about Nick Cannon. They say, you think it's detrimental? I said, well, it ain't no more detrimental than the rest of them. But it's detrimental because even though a man can give money, but can he give time? See, it's all good when you got kids everywhere. And you saying, oh, I pay child support, or I make sure I take care of all my kids. Do you really? Do you really? Because when the father-daughter dance come, can you go? Or you got to go over here, 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 because you got to make enough money for all them 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 20 kids. Taking care of is not financial. Fellas, if y'all don't get nothing else, provision is not just financial. Y'all miss out on some amazing relationships with awesome women because y'all feel like y'all can't give her nothing because she already got money. But don't you understand that that's not necessarily what she needs from you? She needs provision in other areas. Provision is not the only way that it's not just financial. It's not just financial. Now, I didn't say it wasn't financial. Now, please hear me. But y'all equate everything to money. So y'all think, well, I took care, I gave her money for the kid, but did you spend time with him? Did you show him anything other than the neighborhood they live in? Did you take him on a trip? Take him fishing? Something. So if you can afford to do that, if you can afford to take your child and show them experiences and do things with them, if you can afford to do all of that and still take care of hers, but if not, you ain't got no business taking care of nobody else's if you ain't taking care of yours. That's when a stepfather is weak. When you go try to plant, you try to sow in somebody else's garden, you go try to instill something in somebody else's kids, and yours laying over here struggling. No respect. And God don't have none for you neither, because he said, you leave your own and don't take care of your own, you're worse than an unbeliever to him. You're worse than an infidel to him. You're worse than an unbeliever to God when you leave yours. But otherwise, people like Shaquille O'Neal, who made a whole song about how his biological did not bother, but he talked about his stepfather who stepped in and who raised him well. You don't know. There are some amazing men out here who stand in the stead for those who have decided that they don't want their responsibility. Now, again, y'all know I call it straight. I call it straight. Sometimes that man told you he didn't want no kids, but you decided, I'm going to whip it on him. Man. Okay. So there are different reasons why he might have tipped out the door, but at the end of the day, if you had that baby, don't nobody care nothing about that. Don't nobody care nothing about you telling her you ain't want no kid because you laid down with her. I always told my daughter, baby, I don't care nothing about what if you use contraceptive, I don't care about none of that. If you lay down with him, it's a possibility that there's a baby that can come because you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So don't tell me nothing about it. I told her I ain't want no kids. Yeah, you might have told her you ain't want no kids, and she should have listened. Because I had a guy tell me he didn't want no kids. I said, well, if you don't want no kids, then we don't need to do that. Because that's what you do when you want kids. But ultimately, once the kid is here, don't nobody care nothing about all of that. Don't nobody care nothing about all that. Once the kid is here, hey, it's yours. Do what you're supposed to do, because nobody tell you to lay down. Nobody tell you to lay down. But you ain't got no business trying to plant in nobody else's garden and water nobody else's garden, and yours over here dry and desolate. No, sir. So the only way that I believe that a stepfather is weak is if he is taking care of somebody else's children in lieu of his. Instead of his. Otherwise, a man that is blessing the life of another child, why would we? Especially with the position that our culture is in right now. with the deficit that we have of stand-up men, if there's a man that wants to stand up and he's not neglecting anything, why would we discourage that? Help me to understand. Why would we discourage that? It's because of our own pain. It's because of the situation that we had. It's because we've never had to experience it. See, some of the people that's out here putting their mouth on stepfathers didn't have to have a stepfather because they were blessed to have their father. So sometimes we need to hush because you don't know nothing about that. Maybe you don't know nothing about that. So we happy you don't know about it, but don't speak on it because you don't know nothing about it. Maybe you haven't had that experience, and so that's why you can't see the benefit of a stepfather because you've never had to deal with it. And we happy you haven't. We glad your daddy's still there. But there are some people whose daddy's not there, and it's not no fault of their own. The daddy would have been here if he was alive. So stop putting your mouth on situations that you don't have, and stop making blanket statements because all stepfathers are not created equal. All situations are not created equal. Okay? So I just wanted to come on tonight because that really bothered me. It bothered me because I know some amazing men that step up and stand in the stead of other guys who decided to leave their responsibilities. And guess what? Those guys don't neglect their own. And those guys love those children and have become the model that they needed, because otherwise we would have more young women in the streets seeking validation, and maybe they stop that. You know, more young men out in the street seeking validation through gangs and all of that, and maybe they stop that. So if they can stop that, and if they can lend to breaking the cycle of generational curses, why would I be mad about that? Why? Check yourself. Like I said, if nobody's getting shorted, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Okay? So I just want to come on and say that tonight again. If you need a safe place to heal, www.zmsafespace.com. Okay, come on and join us. I love you guys so very much. Let me know what you think about stepfathers in the comments, because I don't see a problem with them unless they neglecting their own. Otherwise, my hat's off to you, because I truly, and let me say this too before I end, because they said there's no benefit in it. Well, here's the thing. What you looking for? What are you looking for exactly? You know, because I'm looking for a productive adult. That's all the benefit I would need, a productive adult. What you looking for, them to grow up and buy your house? Buy your own house. What are you looking for exactly? When you step in the stead and raise a kid, you shouldn't be looking for nothing from the kid per se, other than a little gratitude, maybe, or a little respect. Okay, you might not have to do the gratitude part, but you better do the respect part. So maybe you're looking for respect, right? But if anything, you're looking for gratitude from your wife. So you shouldn't be looking for nothing from the kids. You should be looking for something from the wife. And if she don't have no gratitude toward you, you need to ask yourself who you married. That's on you for picking somebody like that. But what are you looking for exactly? When you raise a child, that's almost like mentoring. When you're mentoring, you're looking for the child to buy you something. We got stuff all wrong. Our priorities, our mindset is all wrong. If I raise a child, I'm not looking. I want you to be the best version of you. You don't have to go buy me nothing. You don't have to bow down to me. I did that because I love who I'm with, and I wanted you to be the best version of you as possible. So if anything, your spouse owe you the gratitude, to be honest. They just owe you the respect. But I'm just trying to figure out what benefits you're looking for. Some of us looking for way too much validation from the people we serve. I'm done. They say ain't no benefit in being a single stepfather. What you looking for? You love that mother. And so if you love that mother, how can you say you love a person, but you don't like their kids or don't want to be around their kids? Don't get me wrong. I know some of them could be little seeds of Chucky. Okay. But how can you say I love you, but then you okay with their kids not being there or not being around or nothing like that? What? If I love you, let's go get your kids. Let's fight. Let's do what we got to do. Why? Because I love you and they're part of you. And I know that if you are any kind of human being, that those kids not being there going to trouble you. And I don't want you trouble. I don't want you trouble. So whatever we got to do, that's all a part of the package deal. If you can't take the package deal, then leave the package. But some of us looking for way too much validation from the people that we serving, the people that we building up. Why are you looking for them to pour into you? I'm not looking for no child to do nothing for me, but excel. That's the gift you can give me. Baby, be the best version of yourself that you can be. Be respectful, be mannerable. That's it. That's all I need for you to do. Go out there in the world and do well. That's all I want from you. But what benefit y'all looking for? We just so out of order. We are just out of order. We out of order. And then we cry about it. We cry about it when the results are out of order. We are out of order. What are you looking for from a kid? What do you want them to do? I just don't understand it. But I really hope this is helpful. Let me know what your perspective is, because I'm cool with that. I'm cool with debating. I like debating. I like, we can disagree. We just can't disrespect, but I don't mind there being a different perspective. Maybe you have a different one. Share it with me. Let me know. We can talk about it. But I hope this is helpful, because I had to get that out, right? Because it really bothered me to hear those people say that. But I love y'all so very much. Again, every situation is not created equal. So we have to stop just judging everything as one blanket thing, right? But I love y'all so very much. Stepfathers that's out here doing your thing, that's not neglecting their own children, my hat's off to you. Thank you so very much for stepping up and for not damaging the life of the children, not causing discord in the home, but going into the home, establishing leadership, partnership with that mother, and establishing a safe place for those children to blossom and grow up, and allowing them to see a good example of love. When you go into that home and you love that mother, and you show that daughter how she should be loved, and you show that son how he should love, thank you for those of you that are doing that. I take my hat off to you. Thank you. We appreciate you, and we need more like you. I love y'all. Have a good day. You already know how. On purpose. God bless you.